Hello, everybody. It's a Thursday. It's a little bit of a crazy Thursday for me. I woke up this morning not feeling so great. Also, we had snow, which is always fun. And since I work over a mountain, for me, snow means not so good. Curvy mountain roads aren't fun. But super excited to go live with you guys. I drove into town where I actually had service so that I could actually do a live. I still got a little bit of a headache, but pushing through it. Instead of putting gel and crazy stuff in my hair today, I just decided to wear a hat. That's always my solution. Hey guys. Does anybody else get headaches when they put too much stuff in their hair? I know that I've talked to some girls that talk about if they've got their hair up in a bun or a ponytail or something, like they can get headaches over time, but like mine, it's rough. Morning from Australia. So I actually have a map in my room, like hanging on my wall, which is like my backdrop. And my nephew was in there playing with the map today, and he was telling me how he was going to move to this red island on the map. And I told him that was Australia. So, hey, yeah. Do the wigs like actually like hurt your scalp like worse than, I feel like when it comes to like putting in any type of like thing that's pulling on your skin up there, I feel like it'd be worse. Hello everybody who's joining. My friend that's jumping on with me told me right before we started that he is getting his station set up so that he can go live. So yeah, I feel like when I wear like stocking hats and stuff like that, that also makes my head really itchy. I'm all about feeling comfortable. I'm not so much about looking stylish if it's uncomfortable. I know that when it comes to all those types of modeling gigs and all that fun stuff, like people say, do it for like the looks, do it for whatever. But for me, I am personally a comfort person. I would much rather be comfortable than actually walking around uncomfortable just to look good. And you look amazing without hair. Like when you and I connected on Clubhouse and I went to your profile, like I absolutely loved like your aesthetic. I loved what you're doing, and I'm so excited about going live with you next week. So I'm glad you tuned in and jumped on. So the live that I'm doing today, I actually connected with him because I read one of his books. A friend posted one of his books online when I was asking about LGBT content that's out there, because I think that it's amazing to promote LGBT stuff, and I also love reading LGBT stuff. So one of my friends suggested his book, so I read his book, tagged him, then we connected on Instagram, which has been awesome, and excited to go live with him. So as soon as he jumps on and requests to join, we will get started. It's actually a little bit hot in my car. I'm turning off the heat now. I heard that it's going to snow again this weekend here. We got about 3 inches here, so for most of the day it was kind of sitting there, but now it kind of melted on the roads and still kind of in the grass. But how's everybody doing? Sitting here trying to give everybody attention. I see Alex has joined, so as soon as he requests to jump on, there we go. Perfect. Hello from the UK. Hey.
Hey, what's up?
Not much.
Readjust this here. Okay. A
Always
lot lower than I thought it was going to be. Okay.
I see you've got your beautiful ring lights over there.
Oh, yeah,
so
I didn't.
You've got good lighting at least.
Yes. That I could hear other people talking, like when I recorded it back and played it. So I was like, oh, I better move. So We're good, I hope.
Awesome. So I will go ahead and let you kind of introduce yourself so people know who you are, and then we can kind of just jump into a discussion.
Um, I'm terrible at this, so bear with me. So I am Alex, and I guess it's kind of weird to call myself a writer, but I guess it's kind of the case. I do have like a, part-time job just to pay the bills. But I did publish my first book back in 2019. Took kind of 2020 to work on my next project. So I'm really excited that that's finally coming out. Um, and I guess kind of the whole point of it is just, I mean, basically what the point of this talk is just positivity, like trying to put good vibes out there in the world, I guess. Like coming from where I did, like being bullied as a kid and just overall having poor mental health, just kind of trying to foster a sort of accepting environment. So yeah, I guess that's the
Awesome.
gist of me.
Yeah, I mean, I like anytime I can promote LGBT stuff, and honestly, like when you go into like I'm sitting right outside of the Barnes and Nobles here in my town, but like every time you go to like Barnes and Nobles or any bookstore, I feel like the LGBT section is like this big.
Very, very
So
tiny.
anytime someone's putting out a book or anything that's like telling another perspective, because the world is so diverse, and I feel like there's so little stories out there that we can relate to as LGBT. So I think that any story that goes out there, I think it helps anyone who's trying to learn to love themselves for being who they are. So definitely love that you're putting out another book. Super excited about that.
You know, I definitely get where you're coming from. I mean, we have come a long way, but it's only been in like the past, what, 10, 15 years. And even now, still lacking most representation. And like, I feel like whenever they do have a gay book character or movie character, whatever, it's always this stereotypical gay, or it's always has to be a coming out story, which I guess I can't say anything because that's what this is. But I feel like, yeah, I feel like we definitely need to start gearing more towards having it normalized of like the character already being out, like they're trying to kind of navigate their way through life and not just like, oh, I'm gay, like this is all I have to be, sort of thing. So
I mean, I've had books where I didn't pick them up knowing that there was a gay character in it, and it probably wasn't even introduced until much later in the book. And it did make me love the book even more, but I just loved that they focused so much on this big storyline that LGBT wasn't really the focus. So I definitely like think that more books need to do that, because I feel like if a book is advertised as like LGBT, like right in your face, like it narrows the audience that's going to read it.
mhm.
Whereas like if you can tell like an LGBT love story that's not really the big focus, but enough to where the book kind of changes some people's perspectives, I think that's an awesome thing to do.
Yeah, and like with this book, that was kind of my goal. Like I know you read it, I saw like it did have, you know, love story, but that wasn't specifically what it was about, I guess, to say the least. But like this one, which I just got my first copy yesterday, well, first paperback copy yesterday. I'm obsessed with it, completely obsessed. But this one, it does have that love story in it, but it's more about a friendship and learning to accept yourself, not just for being gay or I have like bisexual characters, whatever. But more so about like accepting yourself and like being comfortable with where you're going in life, sort of thing. So definitely trying to gear more toward that sort of direction.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like in general, everyone in the world has to come to the realization of like loving and accepting themselves as human beings. Like being gay just adds one more thing that we as LGBT people have to learn to love about ourselves. But I feel like as an adult, like learning to love myself had so much more to do with me as a whole person than the fact that I was gay. I feel like I probably got that a little bit sooner, than loving myself as a whole. So like you were talking about being bullied in like school, like that was big for me. And to this day, I still struggle with a lot of the things that I was bullied for back in elementary school, middle school, high school. Like I'm still recovering from those types of things and learning to love myself for those things that were made fun of or laughed at as flaws. Now I'm having to kind of accept those and realize that those are the things that make me unique and different and not so much a flaw. It's just part of my characteristics that makes me me.
Yeah, for sure. Like I feel like I put way too much pressure on myself to come out when I did. Just because like I knew my family knew, like they knew flat out, like there was no questioning there. But then as I got older, oh, I have so much more stuff that I need to face, and not just the fact that my sexuality is different than everybody else's. Although I guess I can't really say that because I have family members who are LGBT as well. But specifically throughout 2020, because in 2019 I had just gotten out of my first. So 2020, despite all the craziness that happened that entire year, definitely kind of opened my eyes more to what I needed to fix, not necessarily fix, but like look at within myself. And I think that that downtime really helped a lot. I'm happier now. I mean, I still struggle, but it's a lot less serious now, I guess, than it was then. So slowly making my way up. So fingers crossed this year is another reflective year.
Yeah. I mean, self-reflection is, I think, the most important thing that all of us can do. I think that when I learned that running from the things that hurt me, running from the pain that I had, like when I learned that that wasn't the solution for healing, like when I turned around and actually faced the things that were causing me pain and the things that made me not love myself, like I realized I was like, oh wow, so if I self-reflect, take the time to like figure out why I feel these things, it really did kind of move me towards a place where I can say that self-love was something that I accepted into my life. And once you find that, you like want to teach other people how to do that. You want everyone in the world to, because it's like a huge weight is lifted off of your shoulder. And for me personally, I think that sharing my story and having people like reach out to me and say, wow, your story really helped me, like helped me realize that I did have a spot in this world to do something and I could use the pain that I had to help others heal from that pain. And I mean, it's an ongoing process. I will say that self-love is something that kind of like comes in and out. Like, I don't think I'll ever be 100% like extremely happy with everything in life because as you get older, you start to realize other things that you might lack and you have to kind of overcome those. So it's definitely an ongoing journey, but I've definitely learned to enjoy the journey instead of setting a destination of happiness in the future.
Yeah, no, for sure. I just kind of like throwing that out there. So for me, 2021, because of like Rebel Wilson, like her Instagram post last year, became I've started kind of like deciding to theme my years, and like I decided 2021 is going to be the year of balance for me, like finding balance, physically, mentally, emotionally. Kind of get back into it. Like today, I putting myself on a workout regimen, trying to eat a little bit better. I'm going to try to a never ending process. We're never really going to be, because I feel like we've all been kind of taught to like continue chasing something bigger, something better, and we're never satisfied with anything, including ourselves. So it really, really sucks. But what can you do other than continue working on and reflecting and looking inwards? So
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like when it comes to, because you do write, I feel like that's one of the things where I I mean, since I do create stuff online, there's times where you kind of have to just like release it into the world and then just accept that it is a completed piece of work. I know that the first book that you did later on, you like put out another one that kind of had like a different ending. Um, when it comes to putting something out there, like I know that there's probably a lot of people out there that might be in that situation where they want to write a book or they've written a book and they haven't released it yet. Like, what type of advice would you give people who are like in that creative phase where they're wanting to release something into the world?
Uh, I mean, really, I just would say kind of trust your gut because if it was up to me kind of worrying 100% what other people are going to think, this book would have never come out. Um, so it's like it's kind of I've been working on it for over a year and a half. Like as soon as I finished writing If I Fall, I started this idea. So it's been a work in progress for quite a while, and I think it's partially just because I've been kind of thinking like, oh, are they gonna like this? Are they gonna like this? Blah blah. It's like, do I like it? That's the real question. Like, am I happy with what I'm putting out here? If the answer is no, just because I'm not happy with it, that's fine. If the answer is no because somebody else isn't gonna like it, you can't please everybody. Like, it's just not gonna happen. So it's just kind of best to go with what you want, and I feel like that is honestly kind of the secret to happiness a little bit. It's kind of difficult to get there sometimes, but definitely focusing more on you.
So when it comes to, so since you're putting out the second book, like, do you feel like there's things that you learned from the first one that you put out that kind of helped you with the process of the second book?
Um, I mean, yes, sort of. I definitely feel like I got a little bit better with just the overall flowiness, I guess, if we're gonna go for like the schematics of it all. But I definitely decided that I needed to write it more for kind of myself, and more second. That kind of makes sense. Like people always say it, and then when you're working on it the first time, you're just like, oh, like I need to make sure it's good and people are happy with it. And then this time around, I'm just like, eh, I'm just gonna do it. It's like I found that whenever I was doing it based off of other people's opinions, there were long stretches of times where I couldn't write. I know
Yeah.
I was like, I'm done. I quit. I can't do it. Like I almost quit. I'm really glad.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, like I've definitely like when it comes to the content that I create, uh, I always try to make sure that it comes from a good place when I'm filming it, when I'm creating it. I need to be in a good place mentally when I create. There's definitely been times where what's going on in the world puts me in a very negative headspace, and a lot of times I'll film something at one time, edit at another time, and then post at a completely different time. But usually doing it all in different parts of my life, I've found that there's times like here, right behind me is the Target. And when Target decided to do the like gender neutral bathrooms for people, and they're talking about transgender people can use whichever bathroom they feel comfortable in. We actually had quite a few people here in Lynchburg like protesting, and I got really upset about it. Like I was trying to go in there just to buy a couple things after I got off work, and this person just grabbed me and was like, "How could you shop at a place like this?" And it really made me mad. So I went home and got in front of the camera, and I was just in a very angry mood, and I was just
Mm.
like condemning anyone that thought that way about another human being. And I filmed it, left it on my camera for a little bit, then uploaded it to my computer. And when I was editing it, I was like, "Oh my God, I am so angry in this video." And I was like, this is not in a good place at all. And so after I went through and edited it, I let it sit on my computer for a little bit, and a week later, I watched it, and I was just like, this is not the message that I want to put across. Like, this angry side of me is not going to solve any problem that I want it to solve. It's not putting good energy out there, and it's not encouraging positive change. So I kind of had to pull back. And I know that when it comes to being creative, like, it's not a 100% thing, and it's also not a you can turn it on and off. It's kind of when the moment's right, the moment's right. And I feel like writing a book, like, that's a long period of time to go through a lot of different emotions. And like over time, I grow as a person. And I mean, I'm also working on a book. And when I go back and read stuff, I'm constantly adjusting things based upon my new feeling and how I feel about the world. So I feel like a year and a half is a long time to create something, and a lot of emotional growth and self growth goes through that time. Like, how does that kind of affect the book and how you've been writing it?
Um, I mean, when I first started this book, which honestly was kind of inspired just by my love of like a Cinderella story, the Hilary Duff, Chad Michael movie. And so I wanted to create like a fairy tale. So like we get all of these, fairy tales, boy, girl, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I want to slip a gay one in there. But I know with the ending, originally, oh, I don't want to say that because I'll be giving it away. There was one way I was going to end it, but then there was one way I was going to end it, and then I was just like, you know what? Like, I feel like this. I'll say real. I don't want to say realistic, but also kind of realistic. Um, and I was just like, okay, with this gay story, like I get it. People kind of want to have that fairy tale escape in the moment sort of thing. And I was just like, is it really going to be helpful? And I think that was just kind of in my sort of naivety at the time, it just because I kind of was in a relationship at the time, and then I got out of that. And there was also a short period of time where I was just like, you know what? They're just gonna, someone's gonna die. Like I'm angry. Like someone's gonna die. I'm mad. And then and then over time, it just kind of formed into this more like moral lesson, like sort of thing, kind of showing. See, like I don't want to say the wrong thing because I don't want to give it away. Um, Sit well with some people. Like I made the mistake of sending it to another person, and really, and they're just like, they weren't totally happy with it. But I guess I kind of should have designed it a little bit better. But hopefully it'll sit well with people within the LGBT community. So fingers crossed. Although actually, kind of going back sequel and then just like tearing everything apart because I was so mad at that time period. So I'm glad I didn't do it.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know if you and I have ever talked about like Schitt's Creek, but I feel like the relationship that they put into that with David and Patrick, like I have fallen in love with it. I'm not done yet. I'm literally starting the last season tonight when I get home. But I feel like that relationship is so good because it's almost like how you wish that everyone could react during like troubling times. Like I feel like it shows a lot of like problems and drama that happens in the relationship. It shows like the frustration that people have with each other, but it's almost like the perfect response to everything. Like the way that like they get upset with each other or like nag at each other, and you see that like little bit of a relationship, but it's also like comical, but I feel like the way that they deal with relationship problems is just like the ideal. And I love how that's not the stereotypical way that gay people handle problems in most films and most things. Like, it's almost like it has to be extreme drama, and I love how that show kind of like tones the drama down and like really shows like this is how you respond when you really do love someone. This is how a relationship looks when you don't blow things out of proportion, when it's something that is really small at the beginning.
Yeah, no, I it could just be me, but I feel like we're super flamboyant. It's just like if you're actually like that, like that is fine, like totally cool. But not everyone is like that, so please stop. Like get just put some more realistic stuff in there. And then I feel like they always depict them as being, I don't know what I can say on live. Depict them as always being the ones to sleep around. Um, and so I like that they didn't give them an issue and then, David get mad and then he goes sleep with somebody and cheat. And it's like, no, like they actually worked it out, which I love. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that more characters need to be defined in that sense. Like, yes, like the drama, it's appealing to some people, but I love that the appeal of that show is like the humor of rich people having it all taken away, and that's the focus. But then you got the gay relationships in that, and I love that like both of them are not 100% gay. Like, I love that they've just kind of put them on a spectrum, because I feel like too often, I feel like people feel like they need to put that label on themselves, and they're like, okay, I'm gay, therefore this is what I have to do. This is how gay people act. This is what gay people do. And I'm just like, no, like, love yourself. Like, whoever you are is exactly who you are allowed to be. Like, you don't have to fall into any stereotype or label just because you are that one small piece. Like, for me personally, like, I am constantly trying to show the world that it's okay to be 100% yourself. It's nice to be a huge advocate for the LGBT community, but I almost feel like I am opposing most of the values that the LGBT has, just because I'm like, yes, I'm gay, and yes, I stand up for equality. Yes, I think everyone deserves that. But then I'm like constantly saying, but I'm not in that stereotype. I don't fit into all of these things. And I think our alikeness brings us together as a community, but our differences is what makes the community strong. And I think that we're too focused on this little piece that makes us alike, and then anything that makes us different, it's almost like we're trying to tear ourselves apart with it. And I don't think that's healthy for us or the community, because to gain equality, like, we've got to stand on everyone's strengths.
Oh yeah, I just saw that comment about looking. I started watching that. I haven't finished it yet. But yeah, I definitely do get what you mean about the whole differences. I feel like not to be like, but like I feel like bunching us up into a group all the time, and I really hate that. And then I get people who are like, oh, like, are you sure you're gay? Like you don't. I don't. It's like, what am I supposed to act like? Like I'm just a human being. I like men, yes, but like other than that, like I'm a nerd. It's just yeah, I'm a nerd, and I'm I don't know, like I'm not a gamer, GAYMER gamer. I'm not like I don't I don't know, like I don't really feel like I fit into a category necessarily, and I feel like I spent a lot of my time because I came out when I was 20, 21, somewhere around there. And I feel like I spent a lot of my first couple of years being out trying to find that category, only to realize now that I'm almost 25, like I don't really fit in one. I'm just me. I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, it's great to fit in with people, but honestly, like, I almost feel like society has trained us as humans that to like move forward and be successful in life, you have to find a place to fit in. But honestly, I've found that if you are 100% like authentic and like doing exactly like what you love, as long as it's not like killing people, but like I think that people realize that you almost fit in better when you literally throw your real self out there for the world. And with the internet now, like you can literally be whoever you want to be. Like you might not fit in with people in your hometown, which most LGBT people don't when it comes to rural areas, but I feel like you do have that opportunity to really like shine and find your community. And I feel like I've found a better community when I've really let my most authentic self out than before when I thought I had a community where I was really grouped around people who were like my friends because of the mask I was putting on, the act that I had at that time. They liked that act, but it was exhausting to keep that up. And I feel like I really found my belonging when I was just like, you know what, here I am. World, I don't care if you love me or hate me, but here's who I am. And honestly, like I've started attracting people I actually really enjoy having in my life after I started doing that.
Yeah, I definitely get what you mean about the masking. I feel like I did that. I wore a mask for probably the first 20 years of my life, like I said. I kind of sort of started coming out like my senior year when I joined theater. It was just like, oh, like I love this. Get to step outside of what I've been creating for a while to play another character. And then I went on to college and I found some more, people that were like-minded and that I wasn't around just because they were in my hometown. And then I transferred to dorms and like I really finding my community there. The one upside, the one upside to, I guess, kind of like putting the mask on for all those years is that I became a pretty good actor, like, just a little bit. So
Yeah, and I mean, there like The Velvet Rage, which is a book that I throw out there almost all the time. Like I feel like that book really helped me understand because if you act and play a certain character for long enough, you almost start to believe that that is you, that's your reality, that's who you are. And I fell into that and I thought I was this completely different person, and it took me kind of cutting out and stop listening to what other people wanted because I was like almost seeking other people to validate my acting. I was just like, am I playing it? Like, am I doing this right? Like, tell me that I'm doing this right and confirm that I'm going to be like loved and successful because I'm putting on this great act. And it wasn't until I kind of read that book that I really saw how many masks I was wearing to make other people happy. And once I started like pulling those off and just being myself, I did lose some friends. I mean, I saw someone's comment, I think it was, let's see, Brent. He asked, how do you come out so people are fine with you being gay? Like, honestly, you have to do it in the most loving way. Don't attack people for not like accepting it right away. Just because if it's your friends, if it's your family, if you've been putting on an act and then all of a sudden you're like, surprise, this is the real me, like that's a shock to those people. But realize that you being gay is who you are and you shouldn't be ashamed of that. And if those people walk out of your life because you're gay, those people weren't meant to be in your life. They were there because they were happy with you pretending to be who they wanted you to be. And if they're not happy with you being you, then take them out. Like they don't need to be there.
yeah, no, for sure. Like I have a friend who's also like at this time kind of like struggling to come out. And I've just kind of been giving him advice the last few months. And I feel like that's really important to have that community because, like you said, you never know who's going to have a problem with it. And then if they have a problem with it, then like, bye. Sorry, I'm not here to please you. So it's definitely important to have that community, like find those people that are gonna stick by your side, whether or not they're also gay or bisexual or they're just an ally, whatever. Like it's definitely important to have those people, and you definitely who your real friends are when you finally learn how to be yourself.
Yeah. And I feel like one thing that I've learned as an adult is that we all live very, very busy lives. Like we all have our lives that we live day to day, and we can't always be there for everyone that we love. Like there have been so many days where like I could really use a friend. Like I really needed a friend on this time, and everyone was busy. And I had to pull myself out of my head and because I went to a dark place. I was like, no one cares, no one listens. Like everyone is so focused on themselves while I put myself out there to be there for people. No one seems to be doing that for me. But it's just in that moment, like I have so many people pouring onto me when they have that time to do it. It's just you have to pull yourself out, but also you have to realize that you have to ask, you have to verbalize it, you have to tell people sometimes because the image that some people get of each of us is very different than what we might be living on a daily basis. So I've talked to my friends, and when I went through a really dark time, they had no idea. They see the pictures of me smiling on Instagram, they see me having a good time on the lives, but they don't realize that as soon as that camera comes down, like it might be something that I'm sitting here like struggling really hard with. And it took me actually saying, hey, friends, like I am in a place that I do not want to be. Like I need your help, your love, your support. Like I need you guys to remind me sometimes that like all this hard work I'm doing, like it will amount to something. Like I am making a change in this world. Like it is moving forward because sometimes like life will hit you really hard and it's hard to take that focus off of that really bad place and move it back to like the goals that you have set for yourself.
I agree with that. Like I mean, I won't lie. There have been even recent where I've been just a really dark place, and it's always been like at night, like after I've stopped busying myself with everything, just laying in bed, and I'm just like, oh, I'm like numb, and it's those times when I have found that supportive community. Like text them, be like, hey, like I'm having a really bad time. They'll talk me through it. Like I'm also in the midst of moving out on my own for the first time, and it kind of like hit me. It's like, oh crap, this is happening. Like I'm terrified. I'm going into another dark place, and like I would just text them. They're more than happy to help out, even though I feel the crap out of them. But I don't know. It's just kind of really good to have that sort of community. But then also there are days when you have to be like, you know what? No, like I have to do this for myself. Like I have to pull myself out of this because
You were kind of cutting in and out there for a second,
oh,
but yeah,
sorry.
I completely agree. I completely agree. Like when it comes to like creating a community, like I am very thankful to have a lot of really loving, supporting people in my life, but they're not always there. Sometimes they're in different time zones, which can make it hard for communication. But I mean, it took me realizing that, like, when rough times come, I needed to have a support system. I need a group of really strong friends. So I used to be the type of person that kept people in my life because I felt like I was a bad person if I let people go. But then I realized that we're only gifted so many spots in our life to put people in. And once I kind of started removing the people that were bringing in lots of negativity and making me feel bad and filling them with actually people who were passionate about the same things I did or really wanted to see me succeed and weren't jealous of the things that I was doing, like I started to realize a huge difference in my mental health just because when I did have a bad day, I bounced back quicker than when I had friends that kind of let me sit in those dark places and almost did the see, I told you so, instead of like, hey, get up, we got this, I got you. So it's definitely important. I saw someone ask, like, how do you make people stop cheating on you? Like, that's, I mean, that's not something you have control over. You have control over yourself. So your control is get that person out of your life. That person does not belong there. If someone's cheating on you, they obviously do not have you as a priority and they do not care enough about you not to hurt you in that way. So remove them out of your life. They don't need to be there.
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel lucky enough, I think, that I haven't been cheated on. I don't know for sure. I feel like it's back just from, seeing that from other people's perspectives. So I definitely feel like if they're going to do it once, I don't want to say once it's difficult to gain once it's lost. So definitely need to look inward, be like, what's more important here? This relationship, which may or may not work out in the end, or my sanity. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that when it comes to someone cheating on you, you have to have enough self-love for yourself to get yourself into a place that's better for you. Because a lot of times, someone cheating on you, it really doesn't have to do with you as a person. It's more about them. Like, people who cheat are struggling with something. Maybe they are not feeling validated enough, and one person's validation isn't enough for them. Like, there are so many different reasons behind something, and I've learned that when relationships don't work out, when people cheat on you, because almost all my relationships ended on that very similar note. I had to really rewire my brain to stop tearing myself down when something like that didn't work out. When a friendship ended or someone walks out of your life, like, I had to rewire my brain to not tear myself down in that process, and just allow myself to believe, like, we just weren't at the right space at the right time. We're not right for each other right now. It's okay. I'm still a great person. This person is still a person, and we can take separate roads and kind of walk out. And I did see Garrison's comment about hitting rock bottom and recovering from being a cutter. Like, I know that that is a very intense place to be, and I've had lots of people in my life that I really care about go to similar places, and it was really hard for me to understand uh, how to help, how to be there for somebody in that situation. Like, life gets hard, and I think that we all have to be there for each other. And I mean, it's not something that happens overnight. Like, training your brain to see the brighter side of things through thick and thin when life gets tough. Like, 2020 is, even the most stable people mentally, 2020 knocked us all for a loop. Like, I like people who are already dealing with depression and have had to cope through that already, and then we add 2020 on top of that. Like, that was rough. Like, that was hard for everyone going through it, and like, even the stable people fell into those deep depressions that they've never dealt with before. And I think that the norm, the things that, like, just small interactions with people, like, we forgot how important those things are. So hopefully, moving forward, we'll start to cherish and remember how lucky we are to have those small moments that exist in our lives.
yeah, no. Oh, hold on. Anyway, um, I went into 2020 having like serious like mental health issues, just from things that I in months prior. Um, and I have always been pretty open about my struggles, and throughout like middle school and even actually up to now, like I do struggle with like eating issues. It used to be, I would binge than purge. Luckily, I don't purge anymore. But I do have an issue with like emotional eating and just like using that as a coping mechanism. And 2020 definitely made it worse. I do know that I put on like a lot of the weight that I had lost right after high school, and it messed me up, meant like insanely mentally. And like I'm just now getting to the point where I'm just like, okay, I'm ready to focus on me again. So I'm definitely hoping.
Yeah, I mean, I I can't like express enough how like important like self-love is when it comes to so many different things. Like when it comes to looking in the mirror and like loving what you see, like that can be hard sometimes. Like even people that you look at and you're like, I wish I looked like that. Like those people are struggling when they look in the mirror. Like we all look in the mirror and we there's things that we would like to change about ourselves. And one thing that I've learned is like no matter what I look like in the mirror, like that self-love is something that I have to work on through thick and thin, no matter what I look like when I look in the mirror, because when you get to that desired like look in the mirror, like the self-love doesn't exist unless you've been building it all the way. And a lot of times when it comes to exercising, when it comes to those types of things, dieting, those things are hard to like do when you look at yourself and pick out the things that you hate, when you tear yourself down, because like your brain is just like, you know what, like you can't do this, you aren't going to be able to achieve this, and it's playing tricks on you. And honestly, like it's a forever journey that I am struggling with, that I constantly have to retrain myself to be like, okay, look in the mirror and figure out what you love about yourself today. Like what sometimes it might just be like, you know what? You've got some nice eyes going on for you today. That might be the only thing I see, or like, oh wow, look, my hair actually looks decent today. Because if I look down further, I start to pick myself apart. And I'm like, you know what? You have to learn how to love yourself. You don't have to be like this sculpted body that's on top, like on fitness magazine covers, to love yourself. And like I'm doing a diet right now as well. I'm working with a personal trainer right now, and like it's a struggle because like I have to find motivation in days where like everything else is already weighing me down and making me feel bad. So getting that extra motivation to like get me to do the workout and actually not cheat on my meal plans that I've got, like it's rough sometimes.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that struggle.
I
I
appreciate the
had
eyes.
to, yeah, I had to like force myself out of bed this morning to do my workout. Like I'm starting on a like a beginner's hit workout and like some yoga just for some mindfulness. So I'm trying to kick myself back into gear. Like I can remember right after high school. Well, I guess back a little bit further than that. Like my last semester of high school, I started losing weight for a role because I was just like, you know what, I'm playing this role. I want to slim down a little bit, and then I continued high school, and I remember being almost to my goal weight. I still wasn't happy. Was not happy still. And over time, I just kind of like gained that back because I hadn't gained that self love yet. And so I was still like emotionally eating over time, and it just kind of came back. And now I'm at to the point where I'm just like, I need to learn balance and not just the extreme typically go to. Help LGBTQ community because there's a lot of pressure to, be either super skinny or sculpted. So that definitely does not help anything.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the world in general has become so like it's all about the imagery of things, and I feel like if we get too wrapped up in it and focused on it, we can really lose sight of our role that we play in the world. Like when it comes to people's stories, like sometimes people are like, I don't look a certain way, so therefore no one's going to listen to my story, or I don't have enough money. I don't like, there's so many different things that block us from achieving the things that we are meant to achieve in this life. And it's sad how you look at it, like makeup companies want women, or I mean, even now, guys, they want us to feel insecure so that we'll buy their products. They want us, like nutrition companies, they want us to think that the way that we are is not good enough, so we need to buy their products. And honestly, like those, like the magazines that are out, the ads that are out there for us to see on TV and social media, like they know what the weakness is because society has already trained our brain to believe that we're not good enough. And as soon as we like think we've gotten somewhere with something, something else pops up and it's like you're not good enough here. And I think that we've got to really pull ourselves out of that mindset. And I mean, I think self love is definitely something that more of these companies need to start pulling into their advertisements. I think that that would almost be more successful, but they're scared to try that because they're afraid that if they create that type of like message, that people are like, you know what? I look great without your products. I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to look good without anything on. And it's the world that we live in, but we have to realize that that's what those companies are doing. They want us to feel that way.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I know when I was a kid, it was more so I feel like the women aspect of having to, be slim and pretty with your makeup and all that sort of stuff. It wasn't until I got older that I realized there is so much pressure on men to look a certain way too. And I feel like that has been extremely detrimental. Like, I don't know if it's always been that way, but I feel like more so when we got into like, have the genes for that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I mean, I personally think that when it comes to finding a significant other, when it comes to the people that come into your life, like the confidence that you have and the self-love that you have is what attracts other people into your life. Like we might think that it's our looks, we might think that it's our brains, the money, the talents that we have. Like we might think it's all of those things, but there's tons of people out there that have all of that and still don't have anybody coming into their life. And I think that self-confidence, like people are attracted to that. People want to be around other people that kind of like exude that energy. And I think that it's really important that people focus on that type of stuff because I mean, we've got celebrities of every shape and size out there making a difference. We've got scientists out there, every shape and size making a difference. We've got people in almost every career path making a difference. And the thing is, like, the people out there doing it, they're getting out of their own head and making things happen. And I think that that is really important for us to notice. Like, don't fall into the trap of destroying yourself. Like, don't fall into the trap thinking that the world is out there to prevent you from doing what you want to do. Like, the biggest wall that we all have to knock down to achieve the things that we're meant to achieve is like the block that we have in our head.
Yeah, no. I I really do wish that there had been more of those celebrities that are kind of coming out of the box when I was a kid growing up, because I feel like I would have had a totally different childhood, or at least like adolescenthood. Uh, but I'm happy that kids nowadays are getting that sort of content because it definitely has gotten worse over the years. Like I myself struggled kind of like at the beginning of 2020. I was just like, do I want to join TikTok? Like, is anybody gonna watch me? Like, I'm not sculpted. Like, I guess I'm partially funny, but I joined it, and then next thing I know, I've got like 1,600 followers. I'm just like, where did that come from? So, so yeah, I definitely I can continue.
And I mean, so you've got lots of followers on TikTok and stuff now, but you need to jump on the Clubhouse platform because I've
Yes.
absolutely fallen in love with it. So there's literally like people on there, like anything that you are passionate about, you can tag. So I love writing. I am a gamer. I am a TikTok person. I am a social media influencer. And it will literally like give you rooms of people out there just to connect with. Like I was talking to someone at the beginning of this live about the live that I'm doing next week with her. We connected in there and it's just people sharing their stories, their experiences, and like boosting each other up. It's like the most positive place that I've found on social media, and it's mainly because it's just audio. It's people talking, which I think that a lot of people aren't doing anymore. Like we're not communicating well anymore. We're looking at people, making a judgment based upon the image that we see, and then we write people off before we get to know them. And I think that the amazing thing about Clubhouse is it's not about how many followers you have. It's not about uh, what you look like. It's about that authentic connection that you make with someone based upon your stories that you share. And I'm sure it will oversaturate itself with not so great content eventually, like every platform does. But it's definitely something that I've fallen in love with. Like every like room I jump into, like I become addicted. I sit there and like listen to people's stories, but I've probably made at least like 20 new connections where I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so glad these people came into my life. And they're amazing stories that I would have never found if I wasn't on that platform.
Yeah. I followed a link to I think something that you might have shared about that. So yeah, I would definitely like to get a an invite for that. That sounds really awesome.
Are you an Apple user?
I Apple.
Because apparently right now it is not Android, and so people with Androids cannot get in, but any Apple users can. So you'll have to send me your phone number so I can save it in my contacts if I don't already have it. I'm not sure. I don't think we've exchanged phone numbers,
I don't think
but
so.
if you're in my contact list and you create like an account to like request to get in, I can actually send you an invite to get in, and it's an amazing platform. And I mean, I will fall asleep listening to different clubhouse rooms and talking to them.
Oh,
Yeah, I just read that one too. I
I'm so
mean,
sorry.
the gay community can be rough. Like I personally, when I came out, I feel like I got a pretty warm welcome. And of course, that probably had to do with the way that I looked because that seems to be a popular thing to focus on. And I had another friend that came out at the same time and did not get the same loving response. And I felt really horrible because a community that kind of welcomed me didn't welcome someone else. So it was kind of a bad experience for me. And I decided to start to create a platform that made it more welcoming to everyone. I don't think that look should be like it's hard enough to find love in this world. Like we can't the LGBT community, we're fighting for equality and fighting for love, but we literally destroy each other within our community and we've got to stop doing that.
Yes, it is
But
a extremely toxic community. I It drives me insane. Like there are days when I'm just like, yeah, I'm gay, but
yeah, and we're about to get cut off because we're at 60 we're at 60
uh
minutes. So we've got a couple seconds. We have 45 seconds before it
oh,
closes.
okay.
But I really appreciate you coming on. I feel like this discussion was a lot of fun. I think that
Yes.
it was a very engaging conversation. So hopefully we can connect again and do something similar. But definitely send me your phone number on Instagram so that I can get you added into my contacts so that you can jump on Clubhouse because it's a lot of fun.
Yes, I will definitely do that. Hopefully we can do it again. I now get what you mean by when I said earlier a little nervous, but then people walked away with it, like loving the experience. So like it was definitely